Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody has had a great week and is looking forward to a fantastic weekend, staying healthy and staying strong. This is a members chat class, of course. Everybody should watch, especially those of you who are doing the academic IELTS exam, because in this class we are looking at a task 1 writing example and strategy, working on a bar graph. So task 1 for the academic IELTS is going to be some kind of a chart, graph, a line graph, pie chart, perhaps a map or even a flow chart. Welcome, Kyber. While we wait for some more members to join in, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com. As well as gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. For lots more materials, please visit us there. If you're looking for General IELTS Task 1 writing, check us out at gieltshelp.com, where we have sample videos and strategies for how to write letters effectively. Welcome, Rashika. I'll quickly show you these websites. This is our academic web portal here. We've got lots of videos, practice exams, a fully interactive course. We've got an app for your phone. Just click that big red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. And we are an official British Council IELTS Test Registration Center and certified agents, so you're in good hands with us. And this is our General IELTS website here with the green background. Again, you can click that big red button to join us there. We are world leaders when it comes to IELTS exam preparation. And of course, you can check out our lots and lots of success stories from our students by looking at our testimonials. All right, everyone. Again, we have apps that connect to our web portals. Academic IELTS Help, this app links to aehelp.com. General IELTS Help, this app links to gieltshelp.com. And if you have any questions about our courses or about IELTS, just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com and I will gladly respond. Welcome, Angelo. Hi, Janil. Okay, students, so right now we have this Task 1 class. Then we're going to finish our Task 2 essay that we started yesterday with everyone in the all chat class, where everybody can join the class. And tomorrow we're going to have a question and answer session for our members, and we will do a speaking part 2 with everyone. Let's get into today's Task 1 writing. So here is the question of the day for Task 1. So you just finished your reading section of your IELTS exam. Next up is the writing section. It has 2 tasks. It takes 1 hour. Task 1 takes about 20 minutes. And this question reads, you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The chart shows men and women proficient in a foreign language in several countries. Describe the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Pop quiz to our members. What type of essay is task 1 in the academic? Okay, so this is just a quick question for some of our members who have been in the class or classes in the past. What kind of essay is task 1? So there are 4 main types of writing in the English language and in other languages as well. What type is this one? Okay, good. Ali says it's an expository essay. Janil and Kyber agree. What does that actually mean? So what does it mean to write an expository essay? So task 1 is an expository essay. Okay. All right, and Kyber says this means that we need to report the given information and not include ourselves, simply objective opinion. Yeah, Elise says state what is given. Very good, Kyber. So Kyber says to interpret the information. Yeah. So Jainil, it's not just to describe, and you don't want to give your opinion because that's persuasive. Okay, it's a little bit different. So task 1 here is expository, which means you need to explain, expose, and interpret the information that is given. Do not include your personal opinion, and do more than just simply describe what you see. Okay. So that's because there are 4 main types of writing in English. Persuasive writing. Persuasive writing is where you try to convince your reader of your ideas, like something is better or worse. That's task 2, by the way. There's also descriptive writing. Descriptive writing is where you simply describe some piece of information or an object, okay? That's kind of the foundation, the father of all writing. It's very basic writing. That's usually what kids start to learn in primary school, is how to do descriptive writing, like write a paragraph that describes the house that you live in. Okay, that's descriptive writing. And then you have expository writing, which is what we're looking at here, where you're taking one extra step and you're explaining and interpreting the information, but without giving an opinion. Okay, so you're not making an argument. It is a mistake when students include their opinion in task 1 and tell the reader that this happened because so many people like electric cars these days. Okay, the graph doesn't tell us necessarily that information, so don't include it. Okay. And then, of course, the 4th kind of writing is called narrative. Narrative writing is story writing. That's where the writer is the narrator of a story. And that is actually general IELTS task 1. So when you write a letter to a friend or a family member, you're writing a type of story about yourself, your life, and that's narrative writing. Okay, so be familiar with that, students. These are the foundations of writing in university, in English cultures. It's expected that people have this knowledge of these different types of writing. Okay, so let's get into this task 1 writing, this this expository writing. After you read the question, you should look at the graph. So here we have the graph for today. Start with the title, percentage of students proficient in a foreign language. Okay. Here we have our y-axis. Okay. Our y-axis goes from 0 to 70% with intervals of 7%. Okay, and then on our x-axis, we have our bars, and we have the countries. These countries include China, Romania, Thailand, India, Russia, and Vietnam. Okay. And then, of course, we have 2 for each. So we have a blue graph and we have a green bar. So we have males representing the blue and females representing the green. Okay. In the IELTS, usually these are black and white or have some kind of a pattern. All right. Here is what's called interval data. Pop quiz. What do you call this kind of data in English? So when you have this kind of China, Romania, Thailand, so you have these names, females, males. What do you call that kind of data? And again, this is good knowledge, especially if somebody is going into science majors, to know the different types of data. There are 4 main types of data that are reported in graphs. One type of data is interval data, where you have equal distances between measures. Here it's 7% between each measure. And here, what kind of data is that? It's the most basic type of data. Anybody know what that's called? Here, I'll give you a quick note on this as well. There are 4 basic types of data reported in statistics or charts. Okay. First is... Janil says, I forget. All right, Janil, I'm going to help you remember for next time. It's called nominal data. Okay. So when you think of nominal, think of nom, okay, and nom meaning name. It's name data. We simply call it names, the names that we give those categories, okay? They're arbitrary, they're human constructs. A country is a concept made up by a human. If you ask a bird, hey, which country do you live in? Seagull or eagle? The eagle and the seagull will say, what do you mean country? I just fly where I want to go. I don't have a passport. The names of countries, it's a human construct. Even the division of male-female is a human construct. So that's called nominal data. Then the next one is called ordinal data. Okay, that's where you have things like first, second, third. And then you have what's called interval data. Okay. And then you have what's called ratio data. Okay, I'm not going to get into too much detail in those. So those are the different types of data that you can see in statistics and on graphs and charts, and it's a good idea to know what those are. Okay. All right, so here we observe this bar chart. Of course, you're doing this quite quickly in your official IELTS exam. So we notice that we have 6 different countries, okay? And again, males and females. And now we can start writing our essay. For Band 9, you need to have great content, okay? So first is your introduction. Okay, and your introduction is simply a paraphrase of the question with more details using the graph. Okay, so here you can start, members. So you can start with the paraphrasing. I'm going to do the same. Okay. Amanda, good. That's a different perspective of data that you're describing there from what I'm doing, but it's nice to see that everybody's on board now. Good. So we want to paraphrase this. So here the chart shows, well, let's give some more details. It's not just a chart, it's a bar chart, right? This bar chart. Okay. There are lots of ways to paraphrase the verb shows. Illustrates, depicts, describes, many ways to paraphrase that. So this bar chart illustrates males and females who are fluent in a foreign language in 6 countries. And then I might go the distance. It's a fairly simple graph, relatively speaking, to even list these countries. So China, Romania, Thailand, Russia, Vietnam. So Thailand, Romania, China, Vietnam, Russia, and one that I forgot, India, of course. Okay. All right. And if I want to get a little bit fancier, I might include something like, make sure you have the details here. The bar chart illustrates the percentage of males and females whom are fluent in a foreign language in 6 countries: Thailand, Romania, China, Vietnam, Russia, and India. The y-axis indicates the percentages from 0 to 70% with intervals of 7%. Okay. The reason that I wrote this here, the y-axis indicates the percentage from 0 to 70% with intervals of 7%, is because that's kind of unique. Usually the percentages on the y-axis are from 0 to 100 with intervals of 10 or 5%. So I do want to bring the attention of my audience to the fact that we have a little bit of an awkward scaling system here. So I decided to include that into my introduction, okay? I'm not going to explain the x-axis because I already did that. The x-axis is clear here in the list of countries, okay? Competent readers will understand that that's the x-axis, okay? All right. Let's check out what you have. So we've got lots of writing, which is fantastic. Kyber says this vertical chart provides information about the percentage of students using a second language effectively, both males and females in 6 various nations, including China, Romania, Thailand, India, Russia, and Vietnam. Ali says these bars depict the percentage of male and female students fluent in international languages in 6 countries. Careful, Ali, we don't know if they're international languages. They could be local dialects. Again, the chart doesn't actually tell us what language they're fluent in. An international language would be like Hindi, English, German, Russian, but we don't know if that's what their second language is. Okay, it could be a local dialect, so careful. Angelo says the bar chart emphasizes the percentage of students who speak foreign languages in 6 countries. Okay. Kashirsha says the bar chart depicts the percentage of males and females with linguistic skills in 2 Eastern European countries, Romania, Russia, and 4 Asian countries, Thailand, China, India, and Vietnam. Kashirsha, nice observation about the actual continental segregation. Okay, that's kind of interesting for sure. I like that type of original thought and writing, and the examiners like to read that as well. Okay. All right. Kyber, your paraphrasing so far is roughly 7 because you have some grammatical mistakes there that make it a little bit awkward in the coherence. So it's a 6.5 to 7. Okay. Here's my introduction. The bar chart illustrates the percentage of males and females whom are fluent. The reason why I'm using whom is because the males and females are the object of the sentence, since bar chart is the subject of the sentence. So the bar chart illustrates the percentage of males and females whom are fluent in a foreign language in 6 countries: Thailand, Romania, China, Vietnam, Russia, and India. The y-axis indicates the percentages from 0 to 70 with intervals of 7%. Okay. All right, students. So I don't have time to grade all of your writing, okay? But if you'd like to know an estimate for your writing score, you can get that for free. Just simply email your essay to us at adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com, Angelo and others, and then you can get your essay score estimate for free, okay? Doing that in these live classes would take way too much time, and it would make it really boring for others that are watching, okay? All right, so now in university here, you would actually continue with the overview. It's actually very awkward that IELTS expects students to separate the introduction from the overview, but they do. It's strange, it's unnecessary, it's not the way it's done in university, but whatever. Let's just stick to the IELTS method. So now we write the overview, and the overview is basically the most observable features. In my mind, overview, well, not just in my mind, but in the mind of standard writing and university writing, the overview and the introduction are the same. So just know that, students, that IELTS has a really strange concept for separating introduction and overview. Technically, an overview is an introduction. So overview is a synonym for the word introduction, okay? Keep that in mind. All right, so overview is the most observable feature in the graph. Okay. What is the most observable feature in this graph? I think there are two kind of really distinct features here. Let's see if you can catch what I'm looking at here. Okay, Janil, very good. Yeah, so Janil says females are generally more proficient. So not more proficient, but more females. Okay, so greater percentage of females are proficient in a second language than males, except for Thailand. Yeah, so you can see that basically for every country, China, Romania, India, Russia, Vietnam, the green bar is bigger than the blue bar. This means that a greater percentage of females can speak a foreign language in 5 of the 6 countries than males. And that's definitely an interesting observation there. Okay? All right. And then I think another really interesting observation is that foreign language fluency is clearly dominant in 2 of these 6 countries. So Romania and India, with India being the most, right? So that's another kind of main feature that we can observe. So that's what we want to write in our overview. Okay? And that's what I would start with. All right. Good. I'm happy that everybody caught that and you weren't just stuck on the fact that India has the greatest number of foreign language speakers. Okay? All right. Yeah, so let's write that overview. Okay? Okay, so this would be my overview here, all right? So immediately, it is noticeable that a greater percentage of women speak a foreign language in all countries except for Thailand. As well, India and Romania have the highest total percentage of foreign language speakers. Okay, good. So this is that interpretation that we were talking about. This is the goal of a good expository essay, to interpret, to explain. Okay. Kyber writes, immediately it is noticeable that the fluency of women, except for Thailand, were the highest percentage for males. Okay, Kyber, careful with missing information. So you have fluency, but fluency of what? Fluency of a foreign language. Okay, so don't miss information. Ali says, at first eye shot, comma, it is apparent that all 5 countries have higher percentage of women speaking a foreign language, except Thailand, as it has a higher percentage of males. Okay, Ali, good. A couple of corrections. Angelo says, in the bar chart, it is observed that all countries excluding Thailand are predominantly higher than males when it comes to proficiency in a foreign language. Okay, Angelo, careful. You're missing the word women or females. So it's quite confusing what you're stating. Also, Angelo, be careful not to repeat in the bar chart. You already said that in the introduction, so you don't need to repeat yourself with that concept, okay? You've introduced to the reader that it's a bar chart. Now just discuss the information in the bar chart, okay? So careful with that. All right, doing a good job so far. Let's get into the fun part, which is the analysis, okay? Or we can call it the analyses for plural. Okay. So for the analyses, okay, you want to indicate your points of comparison, and you have to be really careful here because you want to write at least 150 words. For Band 9, you want to write a little bit closer to 200 words, all right? And there's a lot of information here. Like, you can actually write 200 words fairly easily, so you do have to be careful about what you include and what you exclude. So firstly, you should go into more detail about what you introduce in your overview. So we talk about comparing foreign language proficiency between men and women, whereby women have more are more proficient, or have a greater percentage of proficiency, I should say, in 5 of these countries, except for Thailand. All right. So my first point of comparison will deal with that idea. Okay. So for me, logically, it makes sense to talk about Romania. Okay. First, why am I going to explain about Romania first? What do you think? So my number 1 is actually going to be Romania because I compare between men and women, right? So why am I going to talk about Romania first? So Janil says because of the greater difference. Yeah, so you have 42% of males in Romania, and you have over 63%, 64% of females. So there's a difference of about 20% roughly between males and females, which is the greatest difference between males and females. So a lot more women are proficient in a second or third language in Romania compared to other countries. Okay? All right. So I'm going to talk about that first, and then I'm going to compare that to Thailand. All right. where Thailand is, of course, we mentioned where males, okay, are proficient in a second language in greater numbers. So here we are just below 28, and here we're roughly at about 31. So that's about a difference of roughly 5%. Okay, so I'm just going to call this 1B. That's my comparison here. So firstly, I'm doing this, and why? Because in my overview, I state that fact. So you can think about the overview as kind of your what? So think about task 2 here, members. If I ask you this kind of critical thinking question, then your overview in essence is what part of your task 1? How would you call that in the task 2 essay? What would be the appropriate term for essay writing? Okay, instead of calling it the overview, we could also call it the what? What else could we call it? This is kind of an interesting question, and it makes a lot of sense. When you do it this way, it will be easier and faster. Yeah, very good, Gus. Yeah, good, Jainil. Yeah, it's not your conclusion, it's your thesis. Okay, it's kind of like your thesis statement. So in my overview, I state that it's noticeable that a greater percentage of women speak foreign languages in all countries except Thailand. So that's kind of my thesis right there. Okay. And then this is a continuation of my thesis. So clearly I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. Okay. All right. Does that make sense? Because that'll really help you. So when you think about your overview as your thesis, it makes quite a bit of sense, right? Okay. So there is our thesis point 1, basically. Okay. All right, and then my second point will be talking about India. Now, this is kind of my second point of my thesis, all right? And then I'm going to mention this here. Then for A, four, and then 5. So for me, that makes logical sense in the essay. Okay, does everybody see that? So talking about the greatest differences of females versus males and the contrast, then talking about the greatest overall number of foreign language speakers, and then describing the ordinal, right? The third, fourth, fifth level of foreign language speakers, okay? All right, so let's do this. Go ahead, members, and interpret, expose, explain this piece of information here between Romania and Thailand, okay? And it's probably not by accident that whoever made this graph, they actually put Romania and Thailand next to each other. For those people who are quick and clever, they can kind of see that. If you're doing a presentation in university, it's a good idea to put these next to each other so that you can show this comparison in the overall graph, right? Okay. So let's discuss that now in the essay. Okay, and then we'll go to India and the remaining countries. All right. So here we go. Looking at the data in greater detail. And at this point, so even if you've taken 10 minutes in your task 1 in the official exam with this graph to get to this point, now you're going to be very fluent with your writing, okay? Looking at the data in greater detail. All right. So lots of different ways to write this. This is how I did it. Looking at the data in greater detail, the biggest gap in foreign language ability between males and females is in Romania, where roughly 20%, notice how I use where because it's location, Romania, where roughly 20% more women speak a second or third language than men. Okay, careful with your E's here. Make sure they're plurals, not woman, but women, and not man, but men. In contrast, 5% more males in Thailand speak another language than women, because that's contrasting that. So that's going into more detail. Okay. Angela's asking, sir, can I just write the main points because the max to write in this task is 200 words. Yeah, we're going to end up at about 200 words here, Angelo, doing it this way. You need quality words. Remember, Angelo, that the key here is to interpret the data, okay? So not just writing most and least necessarily, okay? All right. So now my next point. Furthermore, the highest overall percentage of foreign language speakers are in India with 56% of men and 69% of women being able to speak in multiple languages. Okay? All right. And I see we have some analyses from Kyber and Jainil. That's great. So when looking at the information given in the data on more detail, too complex, Kyber, keep it a little bit simpler. When looking at the information in more detail, it is evident that Romania had the biggest gap between males and females, where women had 20% greater fluency in speaking a foreign language than men. Good. Okay, Kyber, I made some corrections. Careful with coherence, with missing words and too much information at the beginning. Okay, Jainil says, after deeper inspection, the enormous difference in the proficiency of foreign language between males and females is in Romania at around 20%, whereby 62% of men and 42% of women speak another language. Okay, Jainil, I think there's a missing part at the end. Careful with that. Rashika says, in Romania, females speak a foreign language fluently more than males, showing over 63%. However, this amount is 20% more than males. Conversely, in Thailand, yeah, Rashika, okay, it's you have the right idea. Just be careful with how you express it. It's a little bit confusing there. Okay, Ali writes, at further analysis, the highest difference, the biggest difference between men and women who speak a foreign language is in Romania, where 20% more women speak another language than men. Yeah, word order, it's tricky. You really just have to practice it. That's why it's really important that you get some professional editing services for your writing when it comes to task 1, okay? And you can do that on our website. All right, so now I'm going to go to Third position, Vietnam. Fourth position, Russia. And fifth position, China. Okay. So let's go to Vietnam. Okay. Vietnam, over half of women speak a foreign language and over a third of men speak a foreign language. Okay, so again, interpretation, not always just percentages like 56 and 38. Okay, all right. All right, so that's fine. Now, in fourth position, or sorry, this would be, yeah. So, fourth position is Russia. Thailand is fifth position, and then sixth position is China. So Russia is a close fourth. I'm just going to call it a close fourth to Vietnam. I'm not going to go into much detail there. And this is kind of connected to what Angela was saying. Angela's like, hey, it's just like 200 words, so I don't want to waste more than 20 minutes and 200 words on this. Precisely. So there's no point here to go into a lot of details for every piece of information. The question says report the main features and make comparisons where relevant. The question in task 1 doesn't ask you to report all of the percentages, and that's one of the mistakes many candidates make, is they just try to write all these percentages down in task 1. We don't need to do that. So notice how I changed number to percent, because percent is not a number, okay? Percent is relative, right? A number is absolute. So in Russia, slightly less percent of men and women speak a foreign language as in Vietnam. Okay. After Thailand, okay. I'm going to take that out because that doesn't make sense. So I'm just going to finish with a simple sentence here again to keep my word count and time limit. Okay. All right, so there we go. I'm pretty happy with it now, and I'm just going to do a quick word count to see where we're at. Okay, and then I'll review the essay. So let's just see. Okay, yeah. So that's roughly 190 words. So if I take out my words like overview, most observable feature, right now I'm at about 195 words. Okay, so if I want to get a little bit fancier, I can include a summary, but my word count looks perfect at this point. So okay. So something simple like this. In summary, there is a wide range in the percent of people speaking a foreign language depending on nationality, and women are generally more than men. Okay? All right, so now I'm at about 200, 210 words, and I'm at a band 9 as long as I don't have spelling mistakes and grammatical mistakes. Okay, let's go from the beginning. So this essay reads, this bar chart illustrates the percentage of males and females whom are fluent in a foreign language in 6 countries: Thailand, Romania, China, Vietnam, Russia, and India. The y-axis indicates the percentages from 0 to 70% with intervals of 7. Immediately, it is noticeable that a greater percentage of women speak a foreign language in all countries except for Thailand. As well, India and Romania have the highest total percentage of foreign language speakers. Looking at the data in greater detail, the biggest gap in foreign language ability between males and females is in Romania, where roughly 20% more women speak a second or third language than men. In contrast, 5% more males in Thailand speak another language than women. Furthermore, the highest overall percentage of foreign language speakers are in India, with 56% of men and 69% of women being able to speak in multiple languages. Following India and Romania, Vietnam has the 3rd highest percentage of foreign language speakers at just over half of the population for females and over a third for males. In Russia, slightly less percent of men and women speak a foreign language, as in Vietnam. Finally, the lowest percentage of foreign language speakers are in China. In summary, there's a wide range in the percentage of people speaking a foreign language depending on nationality, and women are generally more than men. Okay, so that looks good. All right. Let's see what we have in the chat. Jainil says, inversely, in Thailand, a greater percentage of males speak a foreign language than Thai females, around 5%. Interestingly, around twofold of Chinese females, 15%, speak more than one language than Chinese men at 8%. Yeah, so twice as many. Good observation, Jainil. It is the last little piece of detail, so that's why I didn't spend a lot of time there. Yeah, Angelo, it's not okay. So Angela's asking, most of the test model's answers use percentage most of the time. We're using some of that too, Angelo, but not for the high bands, the band 9. I actually have found, Angelo, that when people copy what the model test answers use in their official exam, they never get band 9. The best mark they get is like 6, 5, 7. So some of those sample answers, even the ones that British Council gives you, are misleading. And that's why a lot of students are really frustrated, because they're like, well, I wrote exactly what the model answer was that I studied, and I'm sure that my grammar is good, I have great English, but I'm still not getting an 8 or a 9. Why is that? It's because it's not an original answer. It doesn't interpret the information. And Angelo, in university, a professor will not take that kind of answer. They'll just say, this is useless. A person can see that just by looking at the graph. You have to interpret the information. So it's unfortunate, but a lot of those model answers are misleading. And it's really frustrating. And it's the same for task 2, by the way, as well, Angelo. So a lot of the model answers that they give you for task 2, if you write that in your IELTS exam, even if you have perfect grammar and vocabulary, they won't give you a band 9. So it's misleading. It's the reality, unfortunately. So you have to have, for those high bands like band 7, 5, 8, 9, you have to have more expert level of writing. Okay? Yeah, and I can see that Jainil and Kyber agree as well. They say, yeah, definitely. And you can see a lot of students in blogs and in forums express this concern. They're like, yeah, I'm sure I wrote that. In my practice classes, I write the exact answer. And everybody's like, oh, that's great. And then in the official exam, I get a 6.5. Why is that? Okay. All right. So good job, everyone. Keep up the practice. This is what you want to do. This is definitely what you want to do in college and university to get some good grades. And stick around. I'll be back in 30 minutes with task 2. For everybody watching, you can check out more video strategies on our websites when you sign up for our premium package at aehelp.com for academic, glshelp.com for general. Our general website looks like this. Click that red button to join the premium package. Our academic one looks like this. Click that one to join us there. Again, hang around. I'll be back in half an hour with task 2 where everybody can join the chat. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria for now, but I hopefully will see you all soon.